Alright, I'm still on page 23. Okay, so make sure you're on page 23. I'm on the right side now. And this is my do now, right? And this is the back of my do now. I'm going to go ahead and cut out just this part to start with. Okay. And so what I want to emphasize is that on the next page we're going to start solving, and we know that when we solve equations, sometimes we have like x equals 4, and that's great. Sometimes we have 4 equals x, and that's also correct. And with inequalities, what we just want to do is we just want to always have it in sort of the same order. It's just going to make our lives a lot easier. And so we're always going to have, for example, x. Right? We'll have a variable. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. This is the right side of page 23. Followed by an inequality symbol, right? Like, I don't know, greater than or equal to, right? It's like an example of one. So followed by the inequality symbol. And then the final thing will always be a number like 6, which is called a constant, right? A number without a variable is called a constant. Okay, so with the inequalities, the order does matter. Now, it's not wrong to have it in the other order with the constant on the left, but we're always just going to switch it just because it's going to make our lives easier, especially as we get to 2 variable inequalities. It's going to be easier if it's always in the right order. But there's something important to remember, which is sometimes when you solve, right? Sometimes you'll solve an equation and you'll end up with something like 6 is less than x. You'll end up with something like 6 is less than x. And that's not right. We prefer for the order to be variable, then inequality symbol, then constant. So we'd like to flip these. Okay, now what you need to remember when you flip them is that, look, if 6 is less than x, if 6 is less than x, right, this says 6 is less than x, what symbol will go here? What's the relationship between x and 6? Well, if 6 is less than x, then x must be greater than 6. So notice if I flip the variable and the constant, I also need to flip around that sign. Okay, so let's just write down that rule because it's important that you remember it. So the rule is basically if you have to, and look, this is where the picture comes in. If you have to flip-flop the sides of an inequality, then you must flip-flop, right? This is just like a way to remember it. This symbol. Okay? So that's the rule. If this was a less than or equal to sign, this would be a greater than or equal to sign. It doesn't change otherwise. It's just, you just have to flip it around. So let's just give you a chance to process this for a second. So what if it was -3 is greater than or equal to x? What would that change to? Think about it and write what you think. Or what if it was 2 is less than 4? What would that change to? Take a moment, right? You think about it. So this would change to x is less than or equal to -3. And this would change to, oops, sorry, so stupid. This should have been a letter here, right? 2 is less than 4, that's true, but let's put the letter P here. So what if it says 2 is less than P? Then it would be P is greater than 2. And I want to point out for a second that actually, had this been a 4, right, and it had said 2 is less than 4, oops, and it had said 2 is less than 4, that's true, 2 is less than 4, and so when I went to flip it around, 4 would have to be greater than 2. So even though it was a mistake, kind of interesting anyway.